Got some birds chirping today. What up, Claytriots? It's your boy, Technically Clay, streaming at you from sunny and hot St. Louis, Missouri. How's everybody doing? I'm doing pretty good today. One thing that I realized today is that our AC can't seem to keep up with the heat. It might need a little bit of a tune-up. I might have to. I think it's currently 92 in St. Louis, so you know, and that's probably not the hottest it's gonna get. St. Louis has pretty hot hots and pretty cold colds, so I might have to work on doing some like insulating of our ductwork up there, which I don't want to do that, but I feel like I might have to. But I might wait until it gets cooler to do that. Just suffer through it this year during the summer. And then maybe in the fall or something, I can try to get up there because the attic, it's not really an attic. It's more like a crawl space, but it gets super hot. Anyway, what am I talking about? Oh, yeah. Since the last time you saw me, let's see. I think that so yesterday's stream was just kind of botched. I won't lie. I put up the clip from the main live stream. I was not able to get. I don't know what happened to it. It's gone. the first one or whatever. So I put up it was really just that one clip of like 30 minutes onto my YouTube page. And then the other or the part 2 of the live stream is up after I got the technical stuff worked out. But yeah, so if you're looking for that, it's just not there. But most of it, like I said, is in that video that I posted. Let's see. And then, so after that, I basically just played some video games. I think it was Slay the Spire. Yeah. And then hung out with my cat. She's locked away in the bedroom. So, you know, trying to give her attention while she recovers from her surgery. So I was doing a little bit of that. Went to bed, woke up, went to work, another pretty, you know, heavy work day, you know, had a decent amount of stuff going on. But yeah, so, but you know, I felt like I was pretty productive today. Let's see, over lunch, I worked out. I did leg day. That's 2 out of 4. We're going for a perfect week this week, people. Someone needs to create I should probably create a spreadsheet of how many days I actually hit versus what I'm trying to hit. Over time, we'll see if we can get those numbers up because it's been pretty bad so far. But I'm trying to get 4 days this week. Tomorrow's an optional day if I feel like it. So that would make it 5 days if I did that. Anyway, yeah, so today was leg day. I went down in weight because I basically skipped all of last week. Which is fine, you know. After today, I'll probably be able to get back up to where I was in terms of like Bulgarian split squats and stuff. So, and then let's see, I went back to work, had some meetings and stuff, and then I reheated the leftovers from yesterday. So I told people yesterday that I made this like it was supposed to be like Parmesan crusted chicken, right? I didn't want to fry it though. I wanted to bake it just to be easier and have less cleanup, to be honest, was the primary reasons that I did that. And it didn't come out that crispy or anything, but I found a new solution because today I air fried it to heat it back up and it got super crispy. It was amazing. And so I'm thinking maybe next time what I'll do is bake it, you know, 90% of the way or something, and then air fry it the last like 5-10 minutes or something, maybe 10 minutes. I think that would be about as much time as it took to get it nice and crispy, and that might be a good option. So but yeah, it was really good. I really like that, and now I have that knowledge for reheating stuff of like, especially stuff that used to be crispy, use the air fryer, man. I used to be kind of an air fryer hater, but I've kind of grown to like it because I always thought of it. It's like a convection oven, right? And I'm like, well, I have a regular oven. I've never really thought that convection ovens were really that different, but I do like the ease of use of just throwing it in there, pressing the buttons, and then, you know, it goes. I also think it probably uses less energy since it's, number one, we have a gas oven or whatever. So I guess it uses no gas, but then also it's so much smaller. It has to heat up such a smaller amount of space that like maybe it saves some energy. I don't know. I'm starting to like the air fryer now. So that's that. Let's see. And then I came right up here to be with you, the viewer. Hello. How are you doing today? I'm feeling good today. I think today is a good day. And I am ready to get to it with you guys. So today we're going over the news. What has happened? Well, turns out a decent amount has happened, particularly when it comes to Iran. The stuff that we're going to talk about today, I'm trying to do this thing where I'm doing like a little itinerary at the beginning so that people, are aware of what the general, what I'm planning on trying to get to. Now, longtime viewers know that that is no guarantee. This is this is not legally binding. You cannot sue me if I do not get to the things that I say I'm going to get to, or if I go off track or get distracted. I'm sorry to tell you, that's just what you're signing up for. I have a clause on my YouTube channel that says you cannot sue me for damages for going off topic. So we're going to start with Iran, of course. There was an Apache helicopter was taken down by Iran, apparently. Whether was that intentional? Was it an accident? We'll try and find out. We're going to go a little deeper into the oil situation. I think that the next month or so is when the prices might have to come back to reality. Currently, I think everybody, when it comes to oil, is living in delusional like it's completely disconnected from reality. Then we got France has banned Israel Minister Smotritch. That's, I think, one of the first. I don't know if they've banned anybody else. They may have banned Ben-Gvir already, but I can't remember. They'll probably get into it in the video when I watch it. But yeah, that's a good start. But there's a lot more people who should not be allowed to travel. A lot more war criminals over there. We got Platner. We're going to watch the libs at MS Now talk about Platner with this completely manufactured scandal. I don't think it's going to have any real actual effect on the outcomes of the election, but maybe they'll have a different opinion. We're going to go over Boogate, which is what I'm affectionately calling the situation where Trump was booed incredibly loudly during the national anthem at the Knicks game, and also cursed the Knicks to lose with his bad juju. And then we got Supreme Court, a lot of stuff happening, upcoming court cases, and similarly, Trump is currently doing some denaturalization efforts. And then after that, I think it's kind of like fair game, whatever I feel like. I got Stop Killing Games on here. I got that earthquake in the Philippines. I got some various articles, and we always got X.com, the everything app. So that's kind of the game plan for today. I say let's just go right into it. And since it's my channel, what I say goes. If you don't like it, then make your own channel. Okay, so we're going to start with the Iran situation. Yes, so since we talked last, Iran got into a escalation with Israel. I have to give the backstory every time because there might be new viewers. Israel and Lebanon were supposed to be a part of the ceasefire. Israel never stopped firing on Lebanon, never stopped trying to acquire territory, and because of that, a lot of these negotiations have stalled. Israel decided to strike Beirut after Iran had said that if they strike Beirut, that's a red line and we will retaliate. And so they did, and then Iran retaliated. Iran hit some places inside of Israel. Then Israel cucked Donald Trump and went ahead with their attack on Iran without his like go ahead, even though, let's be real, they wouldn't be able to hit Iran if they didn't have all of America's intel and America's like planes that are refueling them and all that good stuff. So and then today, I think earlier this morning, if I remember correctly, an Apache helicopter was struck, and Iran has taken credit for it. And I believe America has also confirmed that Iran was the one that took it down. Now, I don't think there were any injury, or I don't know about injuries. I don't think there were any deaths, as far as I know. From what I've seen so far. However, I believe Donald Trump is now back to saber rattling. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and watch this video. This is from Fox News. Breaking. This is from 4 hours ago. Breaking. Iran shot down U.S. helicopter in Strait of Hormuz. Let's try and find out a little bit more.
Also breaking news to start us off this afternoon. Sandra, I'm John Roberts from Washington. This is America Reports. Of course, the big question is what comes next if the president says that the U.S. is going to respond. The U.S. military did make a first-of-its-kind rescue with an unmanned drone boat to rescue the airmen. President Trump.
This is some new tech I was not aware of. By the way, unmanned drone boat. I knew that they had water drones, I guess. But I didn't know they had boats. I knew that they had like explosive water drones, like water drones with warheads or whatever, like that were able to explode, like one-way attack water drones and stuff. I was completely unaware that we had unmanned like drone boats that can go like pick people up and shit. So that's new tech unlocked apparently. I guess our military, our dwindling military, or I shouldn't say dwindling, our overpriced military industrial complex was able to create a new piece of technology that was effective. Hey, it's better than the F-35, right? The F-35 that's been, hit like twice now in this war with Iran. That was like $1 trillion. So I'm gonna count that on the America curve, on the America military industrial complex curve. I'm going to count that as an A+, okay? A+. New technology unlocked, and it successfully did its job. Congrats.
Adding that the U.S. is going to respond to this attack in kind. We don't know what that means at the moment, though. Senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey with the read from 1600 Pennsylvania. Peter, what do you got?
John, it probably means that the president is about to order something big in Iran be blown up. We know a couple days ago he was in the Oval Office and was asked if a red line for restarting a hot war against Iran would be U.S. troops being killed. And he said that would be a good reason to resume military operations. There were no...
I will be curious, though, have they thought this through? Because when we were in the escalations last time, Iran equally, every single time, equally and sometimes surpassed like escalations every single time. Every time America hit Iran escalated further and hit more targets in the region. So I'm curious if they've thought this through, because also America was probably, I'd say, at least optically in a worse position during the hot war like last time. At least rhetorically, America can pretend like they are like still have like capabilities and stuff, or like would still be able to in any way affect the outcome of this war during the ceasefire. But that all goes away as soon as the mirage of the ceasefire goes away, and we're back into a complete like full hot war with Iran peppering the entire region with missiles and America being unable to protect them. So I want to tell Donald Trump, if you're listening, Donald Trump, I know you probably don't watch this channel. You probably hate it because you think I'm an un-American, unpatriotic, America-hating leftist. But I'm telling you, please, please, please think closely, think strongly. You like the word strongly. Think strongly about whether you want to actually go through with this, because I don't think it will end up how you think it might. I also, in the same way that when you first started this war, it clearly hasn't ended up how you thought it might. So I want you to think very carefully, Donald Trump, very strongly, the most strong.
U.S. troops killed here, but it seems like Iran was trying really, really hard to kill U.S. troops, because they did shoot down an Apache helicopter. We've got the president's post. He says, I've just been informed by our great...
I hope he goes into it, because I need to know how this happened. As far as I know, Iranian drones are not for hitting moving targets, right? Iranian drones are to hit stationary targets like military bases and stuff. The way that I understand how it works is the person who is like launching them inputs the coordinates of where they want the drone to land, and then they launch it and then it lands. I don't think there's maneuverability except for their newer technology ones that have like automatic like redirecting systems in order to avoid in order to avoid missile interceptors, right? But those ones are still going for a particular location. They just will look like they're going for another location and then swerve at the last second to hit that location. So I'm very, very curious how they hit this target. Unless this target was, unless the Apache helicopter was nearby a stationary target that Iran was shooting for and got hit on accident or something, I really don't think that they, or if it was just stationary on the ground and they were aiming for it and it had been there for a while, then maybe there's that. Again, I don't know why they wouldn't just like move to avoid it. That seems interesting to me. So I hope that he goes into exactly like what happened. I hope we have that intel. If not, I'm still very, very confused.
Military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. This is brand new. We had been told over the last couple of hours that an Apache was down and that an operational first for the U.S. military was using this drone, this water-based drone. We've got some info on it. It's a 24.
I shouldn't have told them. I shouldn't have told them that I'm giving them an A+ on the American military industrial complex curve, because now they're gonna take this like what shouldn't even be a noteworthy like thing, like our military technology that we spend ungodly amounts of my tax dollars on, like just like succeeding in doing the job that it's supposed to do shouldn't be this like huge massive deal. But I feel like they're going to run this shit into the ground about, oh look, our military industrial complex is competent, everybody please look at how competent it is. Like you're stop talking trash on it. Look, we had this piece of technology that actually worked. Like I gave you the A+, but I might have to downgrade it if they keep talking about it too much.
4 foot long ASV, autonomous surface vessel. They call it the U.S. Navy Corsair. It's got a 1,000 mile nautical range and 35 knot top speed. We don't know exactly how the drone contributed to the search, but it is credited with helping save these guys' lives as they were plucked out of the Strait of Hormuz. And we would expect to hear more from President Trump about exactly what the appropriate response is here. But
I also want them to tell me if Iran has confirmed that they shot it down. Because I thought I had read that. I can't say for sure. Maybe I can look that up on the side. But if Iran has confirmed it, then I'm inclined to believe Iran. But if Iran hasn't, then I would also like not chalk this, or I would also be willing to like chalk this up to like a false flag situation. I'm not gonna lie. Israel really wants America to go back into the kinetic war. So I would like to get that information. I'll see if I can find that on the side.
It's definitely going to delay any kind of a final peace plan, John.
I'm sure that the military's got a target list that's as long as your arm. As you point out, we don't know what the president will go after, but I would imagine it's probably something of high value.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason to think that just because...
Oh, okay. According to Al Jazeera, Iran has not confirmed or denied. 1 second. Let me get this pulled up. Iran has... That's not confirmed. Come on, where is this? Ugh, I hate websites, man. Websites are unusable now. I need to get an ad blocker, man. I used to have one, I thought, and maybe it's just not installed on this computer, but Iran has not confirmed or denied downing the helicopter, but in an apparent response to Trump's claims, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi called on U.S. forces to withdraw from the region. The Strait of Hormuz is not international waters, but shared between Iran and Oman and located thousands of miles away from U.S. shores. Maritime boundaries are crystal clear, Araghchi said. Our powerful armed forces are on constant alert for any violation of Iran's airspace, land, or waters. I mean, this is just more laying claim to that water, and claiming that they will militarily protect that water that they are now claiming as their own. Foreign forces in proximity to our territory are at constant risk on account of their own human errors, plane accidents, or potentially being caught up in crossfire. Okay, so that's the Iranian Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister's response. They are not claiming responsibility, so that means there is a chance that this is a false flag. So I'm like, I want to say I'm 50-50. I'm probably like like 70-30 thinking that Iran was responsible. But that 30%, Israel definitely Israel has a track record, let's just say, of instigating America into, like, goading America into war with false flags. So just something to keep in mind, people.
They took down a U.S. helicopter. He's going to go take out a helicopter. In fact, if you talk to the president about this, he says they've already wiped out the entire Iranian Air Force. Something that they have been talking about lately are Iranian drone factories. Marco Rubio was talking about this on the Hill. President Trump talks about this a little bit. They still have some ability to make these cheap drones to attack their...
I heard it was like 80% intact still. I thought there was reporting on that. I'll see if I can fact check myself.
Their neighbors in the Gulf, and also to attack U.S. interests near the Strait of Hormuz. It's possible that they decide to go after one of these things that they've been talking about, or it could be something completely different.
And continuing to update that the White House says that the service...
Let's see. I mean, this is from the Iran Wire, but I think it's referencing a CENTCOM. Oh, wait, no. Okay, this is it. It's 70%. While the CENTCOM deputy commander claimed that 90% of Iran's missile and drone stockpiles had been destroyed, the New York Times reported on Wednesday, May 14, citing U.S. intelligence assessments that nearly 70% of Iran's mobile launchers and around 70% of its pre-war missile inventory are intact. The report also stated that Iran has regained access to most of its missile bases and underground facilities. That's another thing to keep in mind, is that I don't know exactly what the how much of Iran's drone manufacturing is done above ground versus below ground, but I assure you that it is enough below ground, in these missile cities, to be able to continue producing drones during an air an air war, an air campaign against them, because that is exactly what they were preparing for. They were preparing for a air only, I think they were planning mostly for air only campaign against them, like a bombing campaign against them. So they would not put their missile production, their critical missile production infrastructure, or at least not most of it, above ground. Now, this is why I always say, it would take there's no way to bomb this. It is literally unbombable. It is inside of mountains. I've said it before. If you took multiple nukes, dropped multiple nukes on these mountains, you would not hit these missile production facilities. There would be a ton of radiation, obviously, that might make them unusable from that perspective. However, they would still be materially intact, right? So there's nothing America would be capable of doing, even if it escalated to a nuclear option, to these manufacturing hubs, in my personal assessment. So I don't know. I really just honestly don't know what... there's just straight up nothing America can do about this situation. And they've also lost escalation dominance here. America is no longer the one who controls the escalation. Iran for sure is.
Service members involved are safe and uninjured. Peter, do you anticipate that we'll hear from the president or the White House in any form anytime soon?
Anytime soon is tough. The president's got 3 policy meetings listed on his public schedule. Those don't usually open up to cameras, but if they do...
The ballroom, and the ballroom. Those are his 3 policy meetings that he has to go to right now.
We would see the president and probably some national security advisors in the Oval Office.
Okay.
Well, as we know all too well, all the president's got to do is wave his hand, and suddenly these things become public. So we'll see. Peter, thank you for the update.
The douche.
We'll watch for any update from the White House. Meanwhile, let's break.
I really wish Fox News had old school radio effects or whatever, because Peter Ducey has the perfect name. He would be the douche, right? So I wish they just had an introducing the douche. I would love that shit, man. It would make it way more entertaining for me.
In retired 2-star Marine Corps General Arnold Punaro. General, welcome to you. This is the news. As we start off the top of the hour, we do now anticipate what happens next. Your thoughts?
Well, Iran has committed a mortal sin here, and they're going to pay the price. The president had been showing remarkable restraint the last couple of days as Iran was attacking Kuwait.
Why? Why? This is another thing. They never asked the question. Like, if America was capable of bombing Iran into submission, they wouldn't have stopped bombing. America isn't doing this out of niceness. They're not like negotiating, like, or like being like less hawkish towards Iran right now out of niceness. They're doing it out of a material reality that has borne itself out in war that is undeniable. And so, like, the reason that Trump is like, quote unquote, like being nice in these negotiations and not like bombing Iran constantly during them is because fundamentally, if he bombed Iran during them, Iran would just escalate, and he knows that. Like, so I don't know, man. These people are delusional, man. It's crazy.
Is they were attacking Israel, is they were stirring the pot with the Houthis and Hezbollah, and now the president basically correctly. First of all, thanks to our great rescue capability and the new technology, our pilots are safe.
I'm telling you, man, it's going down to a B. That grade that I gave them at the beginning is down to a B now because they can't fucking stop talking about it. It's not that impressive. I'm grading you on a curve, okay? Jesus.
The president, I think, would have our military, and they'll be ready to go. They're ready now. Go after military targets, which would include command and control, the military leadership, their legitimate combatants, other high-value military targets. So I fully expect the military.
But why didn't you do that last time? Why didn't you do that last time? It seems like if this actually would have an impact in any meaningful way, why wouldn't you have done it last time? Ask the question.
He already knows
these are easy questions.
What we call in Iran a target-rich environment. The president has been very remarkable in trying to keep the peace negotiations on track. This is a huge,
because he's scared.
As I said, a mortal sin by Iran in that regard.
General, we were talking off camera. You said that you wouldn't recommend that the president go after any of the oil facilities because that could ignite a tit for tat and drive oil prices through the roof. But here's the thing. The president said that he wouldn't resume attacks against Iran unless Americans were killed. As Peter Doocy rightly points out, maybe the pilots survived, but Iran sure was trying to kill them. So does that mean that everything is on the table here now as far as the president goes?
I still don't know how we know that. Like I said, the story doesn't make any sense still because it's a moving target, and these drones are specifically designed to hit stationary targets. If a drone is coming at you, just move, like just move. It's like, I don't understand. That's why I'm saying it had to have been an accident, or maybe this like, this helicopter. Okay, here's my headcanon now. These pilots were so patriotic to the nation state of Israel, not to America. Not to America, to the nation state of Israel. They were so patriotic that they decided to drive their helicopter, fly their helicopter directly into the oncoming missile. Directly into it. Like, so the missile is like going for the great nation state of Israel, and they just like flew their helicopter into it in order to stop it from hitting them. And maybe that's what happened. It's either that or the false flag or just like some sort of accident. Those are the only three options,
including the top military leadership in Iran.
John, everything should be on the table. It should always be on the table. We never signal to our adversaries, what we're going to do or not do. But my point would be, and God bless and thank God our pilots are safe. But again, it's a mortal sin. They tried to kill our pilots, just like you said. We have tremendous economic pressure on Iran right now because of the way that we are, doing the blockade, as well as
just one more sanction, and they're going to collapse any day now. Just like China, just one more sanction. One more blockade, and they will be so economically destitute that they will collapse in on themselves. Just one more, and it'll work. I promise you, just one more.
Not letting oil flow through the Straits of Hormuz. So that economic pressure's there. I would think the appropriate situation would be a legitimate military target, but certainly much more damaging than just going after one helicopter.
General, I'm just taking a look at markets right now, as we have been throughout this conflict, to see how markets are responding. And it's amazing to see that this is happening in a moment where we've seen a turnaround in the U.S. stock market today, Dow off 370 points, but oil prices right now are now well back below $90 a barrel, as the U.S. Energy Secretary has suggested that Hormuz ship traffic is on the rise in a big
Dude, it's all funny money, man. It's all fake. This is insane to me. Maybe there is more ship traffic going through. I don't know. I know that Iran has been having shadow fleets go throughout this. And Iran isn't against, I think, allowing like non-US affiliated ships going through and shipping oil. So maybe America is relaxing their portion of the blockade to allow more ships to come through to export oil. But I really, like, I honestly, I have no idea. I still think that the markets, when it comes to oil and obviously the stock market, it's all just funny money, man. It's all based on hopium and like a dream. And it's like, I don't know. I really don't understand how this can be sustainable. We have another video coming up, though, about oil, so I'll probably get a little more into it with that one.
Big way. So you've got oil now down about 4%. That's a drop of about $4 today. Bottom right corner of your screen. As this news comes in, General, tie this all together.
Well, I would say that's another reason, Sandra, that you probably would not want to go after the oil infrastructure and the energy infrastructure. If we did that, obviously, you'd see those prices start to spike in a big way. And you know, even though I think this is a huge setback because of Iran.
Yeah, but what if Iran targets oil and gas infrastructure around the region after you attack them? Like, you know what I'm saying? There's also a chance that like America is just going to do a performative strike. If you remember way back when, during the 12-day war or whatever it's called, where Iran did like, I think, some performative strikes towards Israel and like basically gave America the heads up, like, here's what we're going to target, you know, you can block them all or whatever, like use up all your missile interceptors on them, I guess. Like, it's possible that America could do like a performative strike in order to, like, in a similar vein, in order to like be perceived as you know, not letting this happen. But I don't know. Only time will tell what the actual response is going to look like.
On the negotiating track, I think the president will do what's appropriate in terms of the military response, teach them a lesson for sure, and try to get the negotiations back on track. We certainly want to see that the oil infrastructure and the energy start to flow, because that's important not just to the world economy. And, you know, everyone's concerned about that. But on the other hand, we can't let them, and I know the president is not going to let them get away with this.
I mean, in terms of teaching them a lesson, General, the IRGC, the Iranian regime, has got a learning curve that's as steep as the face of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I mean, these guys don't get it until you.
They don't get it, man. It's ridiculous. It's the exact opposite. It's complete projection. America doesn't get it. Like, these people don't get it. They don't understand that they have lost the war. And like they need to fundamentally get that in order to actually move forward with any sort of like lasting peace proposal. And they will get that eventually. They will be forced to understand it eventually. Once, like, if the global energy market keeps up like this or keeps getting worse, which, like, we're hearing talks that we're having like shortages, like oil shortages in terms of the reserves as well. So, and I'm going to talk about that later, like in the next video. But like America needs to understand that it has lost the war and that it is not going to be able to influence the outcome. The outcome will be influenced by Iran because they militarily have defeated America. So there's really just nothing, like, these people are the ones who are like living in La La Land, where they have to like constantly pretend like America has like won the war, even though everybody has eyes.
Really bloody them. So would you suggest that the president just do some sort of pinpoint attack and retaliation, or unleash hell on these guys and finally say to them, this is it? It's come to the table, or you're going to really pay the price?
John, I think when you're dealing with the Republican guards, you have to unleash
insanity,
hell, death,
man.
and destruction. You say
it's insanity. They are insane. They keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different to happen. They already tried. You already tried this. Think of something new.
They don't get it. Well, let's send them to their just reward, and you know where that is.
Well, General, you leave us wondering, as Peter Doocy left us wondering as well, when we'll hear from the White House next.
Well, I know the military's ready to go already. I mean, they're just waiting to get the go.
Trump's too busy with all his ballroom meetings, man. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. This was a video I was talking about. I guess like I kind of talked about some of the oil stuff in there. This should go a little bit deeper into it. This is from PBS, the public news hour, the public broadcasting station. Capitalists hate it, and me as an anti-capitalist, I love it. So this is about what may happen as oil supplies dwindle and Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Yeah, we're really getting to a situation. My understanding is like June, like late June or sometime in June were the original estimates for when people would start running out of oil reserves. Like for those unaware, like most countries keep stockpiles of strategic reserves of oil so that they can release it under certain circumstances to help them with various geopolitical considerations, right? And so my understanding is that probably not America. I don't know how low America is, but I think a lot of countries are starting to get critically low in this. And for those unaware also, these oil reserves, they have a minimum operational capacity that like they need to maintain a certain level. I can't remember how much it is. It's like 1 million gallons or something. It's like a crazy high number, but they have to they have to create or keep a certain level of oil in these like tanks and stuff in order to keep them operational. Once it goes below that level, then they have to shut down the tank entirely, which is incredibly expensive and takes multiple years to bring back up. And that's what would happen if they got below a certain critical level. So and then at that point it's like all hell breaks loose. That's kind of my understanding of what will happen to the markets. But anyway, let's go ahead and watch this video. Maybe they'll have some more insights. They can tell us a little bit more about what might happen as oil supplies dwindle.
As U.S.-Iran talks show little sign of progress, commercial traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains sharply reduced, raising concerns about global energy markets and supply chains. For more on what a prolonged disruption might mean, we're joined now by...
By the way, this is from 3 days ago, so you know, it's a little bit outdated, but I assume that this analysis is still accurate even now.
Daniel Yergin, Vice Chairman of S&P Global and one of the world's leading energy analysts. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You have said that markets have absorbed this shock better than many expected. What's the biggest reason why?
Well, basically the biggest reason why is inventories. Inventories in the United States. Remember, now the U.S. is the world's largest oil producer. And so we have and the other surprise has been China, which also has built up huge inventories. And I think those are the reasons that this shock.
I also understand that China has been like almost as a favor to the United States, or a favor to, I guess, the global economy in general, has been strategically releasing their oil, even though they don't have to, right? Because they can like releasing it out onto the markets and stuff. I thought maybe I'm wrong on that, but I know that they're releasing it even though they have a huge supply of like green energy that they don't even need to really use it for. Their consumption of oil is going down. I'll try and find something on the side for that. But yeah, I think China has been doing a courtesy to the world to try to maintain the stability of energy during this conflict. But
shock has not been as extreme for the world as might have been expected on March 4th when Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz.
When those inventories deplete, how quickly could we see prices spike even higher?
Well, right now, I'd say the view is that as we get into July, if there's not some relief, is when you'll start to see the prices reverse from where they are. I should say in Asia, it's an energy crisis now. I mean, they're really feeling it because they were so dependent on the supplies from the Strait of Hormuz. So they're having rationing, shortages.
Well, especially for smaller countries that don't have as much of a stockpile of reserves, right? A lot of them are straight up having shortages. And getting that rerouted to, like, say, buy from America or something, first of all, is going to be insanely more expensive and might not even be feasible for these smaller economies. But yeah, they are certainly going through it. The Philippines, I think it was like a couple weeks after this conflict started, the Philippines started having like some occasional blackouts and stuff because they were running low on energy.
They don't have fertilizer. They don't have diesel for farming. In the United States, we're seeing it at the gasoline pump. And in Europe, it's actually about jet fuel right now.
Well, that's right. I mean, the consequences extend far beyond oil. What's the most overlooked impact of this disruption? What are the other knock-on effects that we're not yet fully grasping?
I think the number one is fertilizer, because the Gulf was a source of 1/3 of the world's traded fertilizer. And this is hit during planting season in many parts of the world. It's either driven up prices or it simply isn't there. So I'd put that as number one.
And here in the U.S., how close are we to a 90?
Yeah, fertilizer and I think helium are the two biggest secondary effects. But obviously, all of these things like affect everything, right? Oil in particular and gas, obviously, affects everything, especially in America, where we rely very heavily on those things to, say, move, like, truck things around and stuff. Like, truck stuff from like the west coast to the east coast, basically. Like it'll have a knock-on effect on prices for everything, but it will I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, all of these things will also have long-term ramifications. That's the other thing people need to understand, is that even if everything was fixed today, the fertilizer prices will cause a rise in the price of food, which, will like have knock-on effects as well. And then helium is used for a lot of like chips and stuff, like microchips and whatnot. So as that dwindles, then I think, we'll see computer parts and all that sort of stuff start to go up as well.
1970s style energy crisis.
I don't think we're that close to it, because we are the world's largest producer and so forth. And I think lessons have been learned that part of the problems of the energy crisis in the 1970s were self-inflicted by government policies that actually created shortages where they weren't necessarily.
But it's a global economy. That's the thing, that he keeps saying we're the global energy supplier. And like, yeah, if we shut off all exports of energy and we used it solely internally, and we put price caps on it, and we forced the price down to the level that it was before artificially, then maybe we could. I don't think, number one, I don't think we have I don't even think our government is capable of doing that at this point. It's like so dysfunctional. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be able to actually like, implement that in any way, shape, or form. But because oil is a global commodity, that means that the rest of, like, whether we produce enough for ourselves or not is irrelevant. If the rest of the world starts running out, the price is going to spike. The demand will outstrip supply, and the price will spike, and then our prices will spike too. It does. I don't think that us being a global energy supplier really matters at all, unless we are able to actually stop our exports, use it all internally, and then implement all of the government policies to artificially push down the prices.
Shortages.
Lessons learned. I mean, has the fact that America is now this major energy producer, as you point out, has that fundamentally changed the country's vulnerability to global conflicts?
I think it's not changed it, because at the end of the day, it's one global oil market, but it's given us insulation, and it's made the United States such a dominant player that we were not before. So that's such a dramatic change from previous crises.
Well, okay, you know what would make us even better? If we had if we were able to produce a shit ton of solar panels as well, green energy. You know what never runs out, like geopolitically? What you know what energy source literally is not impacted at all by any sort of geopolitical circumstances? The sun. The sun is there all the time. And yes, maybe the weather, might, like, some places might not get as much sun. They might not have as many good locations to set up solar panels and stuff, but like that, it is like absurd that we backed off of, like, just in any way, shape, or form engaging in green energy just because, like, Donald Trump is, like, I don't know, like, mad at it for something, or he hates windmills because they kill birds, or whatever the fuck his problem is with it. Like, China has positioned itself in such a better position than America in terms of energy independence and, like, being insulated from these types of things. It's not even a question. I think even this guy, who seems honestly kind of like a I'm just gonna say like a brainwashed, like propagandized American, like CEO type. Like I don't think that they can even comprehend how much better of a position China is in than America in this particular circumstance, because they have become the global energy supplier of the energy of the future, like not fossil fuels, like green energy.
We've covered on this program, a swift reopening of the strait does not necessarily mean a swift return to normal. At day 100, how much longer do you estimate recovery would take if the strait reopened?
Well, I think you use the right word. It's not going to be a swift recovery. We estimated at S&P that it would take as much as 6 months to get back to 80% of where we were before. You got to get tankers out of the Gulf. You got to get new tankers in, and there's, we think, a lot of extensive damage, and you have to begin production again. So it isn't like you do a light switch and we're back to normal.
What are you watching for as this progresses?
I'm watching what happens with inventories is, I think, the number one thing. And obviously, what is the state of the negotiation? Is there a deal or not a deal? And it keeps coming into focus and then going out again. And Iran is really determined, I think, not to give up control of the strait. They want to turn what was an open, free navigation international waterway into an Iranian canal, and that's not acceptable to the Arab producers, and it's really not acceptable for the world economy.
What are you going to do about it? I always have to ask that. I always have to ask, what are you going to do about it? Because there's nothing America can do about it. They've already shown that there's nothing America can do about it. And also, because America can't open up the strait militarily, and then nobody can. America spends more on its military than every other country combined. Like, if America can't do it, nobody can. So there's literally nothing, like, you're saying that it's unacceptable, but clearly it is acceptable because it's what's going to happen.
You mentioned that the lessons were learned.
People will accept it. They will pay the toll. They will pay, or sorry, not the toll, the whatever waterway fee or whatever they're calling it now, the waterway tariff, if that helps Trump get used to it.
Learned after the 1970s with failed government policy. When you look at a state like California that has gas prices right now on average of $6 and up, you could argue that California's interventions have put it in a worse position than other states. Is that a preview of what heavy-handed policy responses could look like globally?
Well, I think you said it very clearly, exactly, because they put such pressure on the refining system. They've forced down production in the state. And so what are they doing? They're importing gasoline from Korea that's made out of oil from the Middle East. And they've created their own form of
Sorry, real quick. I wanted to show this graph that I found. Let me see if I can open a new tab. This is like a picture of the operational, the world oil inventories. This is the global oil inventory level, right? So here you see like over time what it looks like. This is during COVID, where a lot of it got hoarded apparently, and then got released. And I guess maybe yeah, because stuff wasn't shipping as much or something. I don't really know exactly why that happened. But if you look over here, this is where the Iran war starts, right? February 2026. And look at the steady release of oil over time. Now, if you see this is what I think I've heard, this operational stress level reached by June 2026. Okay. That's now. I mean, it's going to be like within this month, right? Also, notice how this line doesn't show any sign of stopping, right? This is reached by September. This is the operation floor level. This is the minimum level required to keep pipelines functioning and refineries operating. This is what I was talking about of like what happens when you get like too low, and if you have to actually shut down these things, it's incredibly expensive, and it also takes years to get them back up and running again. So that's where like that's huge disaster zone right there. That's reached by September. So there, okay, so there's still a couple months before it gets like, you know, super critical. But operational stress level is no good either. You know what I'm saying? Like I still don't understand. I still do not understand what these the markets are just so fake. The oil markets are so fake. They're artificially low in my opinion right now. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I got a little distracted looking at that graph while he was talking, so I'm going to go back and rewatch that last question.
Position in other states. Is that a preview of what heavy-handed policy responses could look like globally?
Well, I think you said it very clearly, exactly, because they put such pressure on the refining system. They've forced down production in the state. And so what are they doing? They're importing gasoline from Korea that's made out of oil from the Middle East. And they've created their own form of dependence. So California, of all the parts of the country, is a part of the country that is actually most integrated into the global oil market.
Daniel Yergin. Always learn so much when you're here. Thanks as always.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, PBS, 60 Economist YouGov poll, May 29th to June 1st. 68% of U.S. adults say the United States should make a deal with Iran as soon as possible. Let's get those numbers up, baby. That would require America to hold that big fat L that they've taken so far. PBS, I got news for you. This guy sucks. You don't need to have him on anymore. He's not. I don't think he has good analysis. I talked about the things that I think that he got wrong. He just seems a little too propagandized to be able to actually give good assessments, in my personal opinion. You should have me on instead. PBS. That would be amazing. If I could get on PBS someday. Let's make it happen, Captain. Okay, let's move on to this video. This is from France 24 English. So apparently, so France, a lot of the UK and the EU in general have been very hesitant to actually sanction Israeli officials. And especially because obviously they fear American reprisal, right? They fear America. Donald Trump, everybody uses the dollar. He could, place sanctions on these countries for doing it. He could, I don't know, like increase tariffs like he did before. One sec. Sorry. I'll be right back. I just realized the lighting was a little off because I forgot to put on my turn on my lamp. But yeah, so like there is like a real fear, I think, from Europeans for doing this. But then also obviously they are fundamentally aligned with the goals, the ethnic cleansing goals of the nation state of Israel, because Israel is like a outpost for the West in order to destabilize and extract resources from a resource-rich region in the Middle East. The way that they do that is by constantly expanding as a settler colonial entity to try to take over more and more land, more and more territory, and destabilize these other blocks of power that would be able to fight back against America if they could coordinate to do so, right? So a lot of these countries in Europe who are fundamentally aligned with global capitalism are out there they are fundamentally aligned with Israel. So that's another factor in why it takes so long for them to do anything about the atrocities that Israel is committing. But at this point, it's becoming so obvious, and the public in general is like hates Israel so much now that they feel like they have to do something, and that's good, right? It's not enough. It's not enough. I want to be absolutely clear about that. Not only like Israel sanctioning Smotritch, who is wanted as an international by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, is a easy first step. I think they've also potentially sanctioned some West Bank settlers, which is okay, another easy first step, but it needs to go a lot further. So let's go ahead and watch this video. We'll see, we'll try and get some context around this and maybe see what's going to happen in the future.
France this Tuesday has banned Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotritch from entering the country. This is part of coordinated sanctions with...
And by the way, Bezalel, is that his name? Smotritch and Ben-Gvir are the two most unhinged, racist, terroristic, Zionist freaks in Israel. Like at least like the two publicly facing public officials. They are two of the worst of the worst.
With other countries over settler violence against Palestinians. Smotritch becomes the second member of the Israeli government to be forbidden from entering France in recent months, after National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir was barred on May the 23rd.
Okay. Ben Gavir, I thought I remembered that as well, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I didn't want to say it.
For mocking activists detained by Israeli soldiers from a Gaza-bound flotilla carrying aid for the Palestinian territory.
You know what's crazy is they did that for him, like, you know, obviously, like, humiliating and like attacking foreign nationals or whatever, like white people who went to like on the flotilla, which, I mean, obviously it's a great thing that they did and they deserve all the credit in the world, but they sanctioned him because he insulted them, like as opposed to like the raping, like they are doing systematic rape of Palestinians and also of some of these like flotilla people who are thrown into their torture dungeons that they have in Israel, their concentration camp torture dungeons where they do whatever the fuck they want to Palestinians with impunity. You should have sanctioned them for that. Like that's what you should have sanctioned them for. But whatever, as long as they get sanctioned, I don't really care.
UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand and Norway already slapped a travel ban on both ministers in June last year over inciting violence against Palestinians. Other countries have also banned the ministers, including Spain, Slovenia, and most recently, Ireland. Let's get more on the situation in the Middle East and bring in from Jerusalem our correspondent there, Noga Tarnopolsky. Noga, a very good evening to you. So Israel's
I hate this person.
Smotritch can no longer come and visit France. What's been the reaction where you are?
The reaction has been fairly muted just because of the avalanche of news here today. But I think we should remember that Bezalel Smotritch and Itamar Ben-Gvir, who you both mentioned, have a long history on the very margins or beyond the margins of Israeli law. And in fact, both of them were defined as like the KKK by the former Mossad director, Tamir Pardo. So,
well, I got news for you, lady. They're like in the future, they are going to be the center of Israel. Israel is continually moving to the right forever because Zionism is a Nazi ideology. It is a fascist ideology that requires you to continuously ramp up your rhetoric and dehumanize the other until you end up at the end state, which is exactly what the Nazis did to Jews back then. And the current situation where these people are quote unquote on the fringes, are they really on the fringe if they are literally in high-ranking cabinet positions of the government? I don't think so. And also they represent a huge section of your public. And like I said, they will be considered moderates to whatever future government comes in after this. That is the inherent nature of Zionism and fascism. So get prepared, lady. I hope you enjoy living in that Nazi hellscape you live over there.
It's not really surprising when Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, returned to power in January of 2023. In fact, there was an expectation that several of his ministers would be defined as persona non grata in many countries. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen in the first few months of his government. And then
what a surprise.
October 7th, 2023 happened, and the perspective on Israel from foreign countries changed. And I think that the antics of these gentlemen and other of Netanyahu's extremist ministers became less pressing. But as time...
This is why I don't like this lady every time she comes on and talks, because she is incapable of recognizing that these people are representative of the Israeli public at large. Okay, they are. We can't pretend like they're not. They always like to try to cordon off these extremists that they call extremists as separate from the ethno-religious nationalist project of Israel. These people are core to the project of Zionism, and they represent huge swaths of the population, and their party is the one that's ascending right now. Like their segment are the ones that are ascending right now. And she just refuses to acknowledge, I think a lot of the time, she refuses to acknowledge that like Israel, that this is what Israel is. Like these people represent the identity of Israel and Zionism way more than this lady ever would if she is a quote unquote liberal Zionist or whatever she calls herself.
Time goes by, and as the war lingers on, countries are coming awake, and these two men and several other West Bank settler leaders including very prominent leaders who are the beneficiaries of a lot of funds from abroad, in many cases of unknown origins, and another minister, Orit Struk, who is of Bezalel Smotrich's party. All of these people who have called for this displacement of all Palestinians from all Palestinian territories, who deny the existence of the Palestinian people. These are top officials with very extremist point of view. And I am surprised that it took this long, honestly, for them be denied access to most.
I'm not surprised at all. I'm actually surprised that it's happening at all, to be honest, because this is all backed up by American empire and by American power. So when these countries, they have to be forced into doing this. It's not like these countries would ever do this. Like, no country has like an inherent, or like at least none of these like Western countries have an inherent like desire to help human rights. They are forced into acknowledging, unless those human rights positions reinforce their power, right? Reinforce their hegemony. Then they will use them, right? They will use human rights situations in like whatever region in order to use that as an excuse to go like influence that region and increase their power or whatever. They will do that. But anytime the human rights go against their interests and against their power, they have to be forced into actually doing these types of things. And that's what's happening right now, is that they are feeling pressured, so much pressure from their public, that they have to do something. And this is just a release valve, by the way. This isn't justice. This isn't in any way, shape, or form what is required in order to achieve justice. These people, the people at the top for sure, need to be tried and punished in The Hague. They need to go to jail forever, or whatever punishment they deem fit in International Criminal Court. Anybody who has ever served in the IOF, the Israeli Occupation Forces, needs to be punished as well, and to a relatively severe degree as well. They also need to give reparations to all of the people that they've harmed, and they also obviously need to create a system that is not designed on the oppression of an entire group of people that doesn't reflect their identity, right? They need to open up Gaza. They need to either create a one-state solution where everybody has equal rights, or they need to create an actual two-state solution and expel all of their settlers, like pull them all back, all 500,000 from the West Bank. Like I said, this is still all just kind of like a first step to true justice for what the people of Palestine have been subjected to for this long. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see if this goes anywhere. This is just a pressure release valve to try to show their public that they're doing something, but it's not enough, and it needs to go faster. The genocide is ongoing, both in Palestine and Lebanon. So anyway, let's move on to more domestic stuff, I guess.
And that's now.
We're going to talk about Graham Platner a little bit more. I kind of thought we were done with... I kind of thought we were done talking about Graham Platner after their New York Times article was like, for those unaware, there was a New York Times article where they alleged that Graham Platner was made I think two women out of the six they talked to feel like a little uncomfortable. Like that's what the article was. One of them was a Republican operative with ties to the Susan Collins campaign, who claimed that Graham Platner had grabbed her wrist once while they were both drunk, and had claimed that he knew that he knew that his chest tattoo was a Totenkopf. Now, I've talked about it before. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't fully trust Graham Platner, mainly because of his ties to Blackwater, the mercenary group or whatever, for doing three tours in it. However, he's saying all the right things, and I do not believe that you can engage in politics at all if you are afraid of every single politician becoming a federal Fetterman or a Gillibrand. So for those reasons, I am choosing to trust him. And all of these smears that are coming out, in my opinion, are making him much more trustworthy because it's all of the same Zionist lobby groups. It's all of the same big money interests that are corporate donors, all of that, who are coming out of the woodwork to try to manufacture the scandal. This would not be a scandal for any other politician, right? They would not have written this article for any other politician or for any other politician that is that isn't against like the actual like capital like pedobillionaires at the top of our system, right? So for that reason, I'm beginning to trust him more. Now, I guess with all that being said, though, I don't know if there has been any actual fallout when it comes to that article with Graham Platner in terms of like people like the average voter who's not as tuned in as I am to see what they think about it. I saw some interviews on the street of everybody they talked to said that like they didn't think it was anything serious at all. I also imagine in my mind that like the current era of politics we're in makes it impossible for people to take these sorts of like scandals seriously because there's like real material like pain that people are feeling that needs to be resolved. So they have to, you know, put some of that aesthetic stuff to the side in order to, you know, fix the immediate material concerns that they're facing. So all of that being said, let's watch this video from MS Now, MSDNC, and we will see what all of the libs are thinking about this. The title of the video is Platner's Problem, Independence, main journalist argues. I would probably argue differently, but let's go ahead and watch this. I have to use the bathroom first, but I'll be right back.
Kevin Fry has been talking to voters in Bangor. Kirby Wilson is politics editor for the Maine Trust for Local News, which owns several of the state's daily papers. And Barbara Boxer is former Democratic senator from California. Eugene Robinson is a Pulitzer Prize winning columnist and MS Now political analyst. Great to have all of you with us. And Kevin, there's a decent amount of hand-wringing going on from Democrats on the national stage. But is that being echoed by voters where you are?
There is some of that, but I will say we've talked to probably more than 3 dozen, maybe 4 dozen voters over the course of the last few days as we've made our way around Maine. And quite frankly, most of the folks we're hearing from say, yes, we understand these stories are out there. Yes, we are digesting these stories. But right now, we are willing to believe that that is behind him. He is changing himself. We trust his judgment going forward, and we believe that this is a redemption story.
See. Exactly what I just said. And so I don't know. I would like to get numbers from this guy. He said a few dozen people. I would be curious how many people, maybe he's going to get into that, how many people said the opposite. But like I just said, in the same way that the same exact argument that I made for me personally, because I don't give a shit about all of this stuff, all of these like allegations that he made somebody feel mildly uncomfortable once, right? I would say that 90% of our politicians have made a woman feel uncomfortable. I would say like a significant portion of them have committed actual acts of sexual assault, right? And so like I am willing, that stuff is not as worrisome to me, except insofar as it makes it potentially that he can be less trustworthy. But the Blackwater stuff is way worse in my opinion. And I am willing to put that to the side because I think that it is more important to have, well, obviously a Democrat in that seat. We need that in order to take back the Senate. But to have someone who is rhetorically fighting against power and fighting against capitalism and fighting against imperialism and fighting against Zionism, right? These are the reasons that I'm willing to put that to the side and trust his words right now that he is going to govern in this particular way. But yeah, it seems like a lot of other people are kind of feeling the same way. Although I think the average voter doesn't care that much about like his military service or doesn't care that much about him being a part of the like a private mercenary group or anything. That's more of me as like a lefty or whatever. Like the things that I look out for is like, potential reasons for like not to trust him.
Still, there is that lingering question. We get past today, and there are certainly folks who have said to me, what shoe is going to drop next? What is the next story? Is there going to be another revelation that could imperil his chances in November? Folks here are very cognizant that this race is.
Yeah, it's going to be, what's the next story going to be? Graham Platner, one time he pet a cat backwards. He didn't pet it with the grain of the fur. He pet it backwards. That's going to be the next scandal. Graham Platner, one time he saw a person speed walking at the mall, and he decided to run past them faster just to show that he could. That's the next scandal. I don't know. I'm just coming up with stuff. This is off the top of my dome. I'm sure we can come up with better scandals. I'm sure New York Times will come up with better scandals than that.
It's critical when it comes to which party controls the U.S. Senate heading into next year. So here's a sense of what we heard from some voters as they were coming to this polling place in Bangor this morning.
If it's a Collins versus Platner matchup, I know how you'll be voting. Are you confident about? Is there anything that could make you rethink backing him?
Nothing that I can think of, but the unthinkable, we've seen it happen. So I keep an open mind.
He's admitted, I wasn't a great boyfriend,
Yeah.
But that's a normal part of life. So, I'm gonna listen and learn more directly from people as much as possible. So. There will be a line. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna stay.
Well, I think we should also take into account that the line is variable. Like I said before, the line moves based on the material conditions of the people at the time, right? And and obviously it's not just material, but also things like ties to like democratic ideals and all that sort of stuff in an era of fascism, right? This will all make lines move. So even if there's there was the allegation of virtual sexting or whatever, right? I don't even think in I don't even know if that would have worked back back before the Trump era. To be honest, that seems so minuscule in my mind. However, if these allegations were true and weren't from a Republican operative, potentially they could have made some sort of dent in a different era. So like I said, this line that people have of acceptability in politics moves according to the time, the political circumstances, the political realities of what we're living through.
Open and observant.
Now, and there's kind of the key question that no one can answer for me when I've asked this question, which is what is the line where it is too far? We've talked to some folks who have said that, they might just not vote for Senate at all. They don't want Collins, but they also maybe won't be able to bring themselves to vote for Platner. Some even told me that they might vote for Collins instead because they've, believed that she does have somewhat of a moderate streak. One other kind of component that we're going to be watching here and that I've heard from voters throughout the day and the last couple of days is what the Janet Mills contingency ends up looking like. We just spoke with a woman just outside. She declined to go on camera, but she told me that she voted for Mills, can't support Platner because she told us she sees some of the allegations against Platner as mirroring.
Radical centrist, dude. I think the only people who would do this at this particular moment in American history would willingly give up the Senate to the Republicans are insane radical centrists or Zionists, people who are more aligned with if you are a Democrat, a Democratic voter, and you are more aligned with the nation state of Israel, or you are so against the things that Graham Platner is advocating for, those are the only reasons that would make this change your mind. I don't think anybody will actually change their mind because of we'll change will allow the Republicans to maintain the Senate just because they Graham Platner made a woman feel uncomfortable once, allegedly by a Republican operative, right? And obviously not everybody is as informed as I am, or maybe the people who might watch this are, right? But even so, I just think that I don't see any just average run of the mill Democratic voter like switching because of this. Maybe some independents, maybe. But I still think it's such a nothing burger that they would have to have been like propagandized by the story to do that, because like I said, it's not like a real issue.
Too close what happened with the accusations against Trump, and she feels the Democrats should essentially be holding themselves to a higher standard.
All right, Kevin
Yeah,
Fry,
that
thank
sounds
you for
like
that
a
reporting. And Kirby, is there a threshold in your mind that Platner needs to reach to ease Democrat concerns about whether he
like?
can
I guess what I'm saying is that sounds like a ultra centrist liberal like Twitter shit lib. Like that's what that sounds like to me. Someone who, if someone's making that argument, that's who that is. I think
win in the fall. And what are you going to be watching for today?
A numerical threshold is a little difficult to say, but at the bare minimum, he needs to escape a ranked choice runoff. We have ranked choice voting here in Maine, and so he needs to clear a majority tonight to assuage the most basic concerns. To my mind, what's happened so far is mostly a recapitulation of the dynamics of the race as we already expected. Graham Platner was already known to be a guy with personal baggage. He's also already known to be a guy who has legions of dedicated followers and dedicated supporters. And his campaign is banking on that energy translating to winning over the median voter. Whereas Senator Collins is banking on the fact that, okay, sure, she might not be able to pull together a rally of 1,000 people in Portland like Senator Platner can, or like Mr. Platner can. But she will be able to convince the median voter.
That was a Freudian slip. He's ready. He's ready for Senator Platner.
The normie voter, the quiet voter.
What about, this idea that you may have voters that
I guess also I would say that the average voter, like I said, is not that tuned in. They might not even know any of this. The most that they might have heard is that there was like there was some sort of like scandal or something, and they might have a vague idea of it with Graham Platner. But I'm going to be honest, most voters in Maine probably don't even really know that there's a primary going on today. Probably don't even know that like they probably won't even start focusing on the midterms at all if they because also if they do at all, they probably won't be focused on the midterms at all until like, I don't know, like October, right? So I think there's a lot of people who just aren't that tuned in. I think the majority of people who even know about this scandal are going to be people who are like relatively aware of what's happening, relatively politically aware, and hopefully have the amount of media literacy to see a clear hit job.
Decide to vote for Mills, even though she essentially stopped her campaigning, but she's still on the ballot there. Do you see that playing out?
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a not insignificant percentage of the Democratic electorate that goes with Mills because we have ranked choice voting here and because you can choose your preference. But I've asked those same voters, okay, well, are you going to back Senator Collins in November? And most of them say, absolutely not. I don't think Mr. Platner's problem is with Democratic voters, the kind that would back Governor Mills. I think his problem is going to be with independents and no party affiliated voters, and even some of the moderate Republicans he hopes to peel from Senator Collins in November.
Yeah,
but what evidence do you have of that? I don't understand. I think that if any Republicans read that story about Platner, they would come away thinking, this guy seems like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that sounds like just the average experience. Like there was one part of that article about like Platner, how he was like, how he made, it was the Republican op girl, I think, Fifield, made her feel uncomfortable because he would like, clean and like worship his gun every night or whatever. I'm like, dude, that sounds like at least half of the Republicans in Maine do that shit too. You know what I'm saying? Another thing they said was that Platner would like when they would get drunk would talk about like fantasizing about like shooting a home invader or something, right? Like I said, that is literally every Republican. Like, I think that if Republicans actually read that article, I think that they would think he is more like them than not. And I would have to assume also independents as well. That's why I'm just really confused about this like idea that they're just saying they need to show me the numbers of how independents feel about this, because I do not buy it. I don't buy it at all.
Speaking of, Senator Boxer, even if Platner wins today, it's a whole other ball game when it comes to the general election. A PAC now aligned with Susan Collins is already releasing ads, putting Platner's remarks front and center. Let's listen.
Oh, let's listen.
Grant Platner called Roland Maynard stupid and racist.
You're calling me stupid and racist?
Who says something like that?
Platner said cops are bastards, all of them. Grant Platner has no respect for law enforcement. Grant Platner said some law...
That one was pretty based. Grant Platner calls cops bastards. By the way, again, who hasn't, right? If you, I think everybody's gotten mad at cops before and called them pigs or whatever, right? If you haven't, then I don't know who you are. Like, you're not a real person if you haven't ever once gotten mad at cops and like yelled at them.
All of them. Grant Platner has no respect for law enforcement. Grant Platner said some lobstermen are absolutely terrible people.
Wait a second. What's this? Grant Platner said lobstermen are absolutely terrible people. So, okay, is this something like he's an oyster? So Grant Platner is an oyster farmer. Is there some sort of like oyster versus lobster, like lobstermen, like beef or something? What's going on here? This sounds like he's joking if I had to guess. Like this seems like a ridiculous thing to pull. The quote is also from Reddit, so you know it's not like he said it out in the open. He said it on fucking Reddit. People say terrible, heinous shit on Reddit, and if this is the worst you got, that lobstermen are absolutely terrible people, I think that I don't think that's gonna do much.
Said some lobstermen are absolutely terrible people.
Grant Platner, you got it absolutely wrong.
It disgusts me.
Grant Platner would be a big embarrassment for me.
I would never vote for Grant Platner.
Senator, you know, given the track record so far, as you
that was a crazy ad. I don't think that's going to be very effective, man. Those quotes weren't damning at all. They were honestly pretty tame. Like, I feel like most attack ads are like they have a lot worse things to say than that.
heard from Kevin's reporting, people are a little bit worried that there could be
they're making him seem almost like a saint, to be honest, if that's the worst that they got.
You know, given the track record so far, as you heard from Kevin's reporting, people are a little bit worried that there could be another shoe that drops here. How worried do you think Democrats should be going forward?
Let me just take a step back. You never know what shoe's going to drop on who. So let's just...
This also is so manufactured. I'm like, why are you doing this? The only reason that MS Now and like these various liberal outlets are like New York Times and all this are like so heavily focused on this is because they are trying to stop him from getting elected. That's the only reasonable conclusion I can make. Like they shouldn't be focused on this story at all because it's clearly not a thing that is resonating with the average like voter, Democratic voter in Maine. So why else would they be talking about it unless they wanted to bring it more to prominence and try to try to make him lose? Like, it's the only reasonable explanation I can come away with.
Let's move to where we are today. I believe there is a choice really between two flawed candidates. Now, that might surprise you. You know, Platner, he's personally flawed. His painful, ugly past is pretty much, he's owned up to it.
Susan Collins voted to go to Iraq, right? Am I wrong? Like, and she also voted for Kavanaugh to become like a Supreme Court justice who has credible rape allegations against him. Like, what are we talking about? There's no comparison. If you want to talk about like who is more morally repugnant based on the things that they've done in the past between Platner and Susan Collins, it is literally, there is like no comparison whatsoever.
But Collins is politically flawed in a blue state, and she does not own up to any of it. She acts like she's bipartisan, but she's voted 94% with Trump for billionaire tax cuts.
Yeah, she's a Trump MAGA Republican.
Class. She's taken the lead on many of these awful justices, including Kavanaugh, who she said would never overturn Roe v. Wade. She went to the mat for him. He also was accused of sexual assault, by the way.
That's what I just said.
And he gets confirmed. And now women are bleeding out because they can't get legal abortions in many states. And the last point I'd make is
also for all of those who are like scared about Graham Platner's history in the military or whatever, right? Susan Collins voted in favor of the October 2002 resolution authorizing the use of military force in Iraq. So she sent Graham Platner and hundreds of thousands of other veterans to Iraq to commit, the various war crimes that they all committed over there. I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them did. So, you can, I do tend to try to focus more on the people who commit atrocities at a mass scale as opposed to those who commit atrocities on a individual level. Like, I do think it's important to kind of separate those two things when it comes to who's more evil.
She was a big cheerleader for the Iraq war. I've read some of her speeches. She said this is the most important thing. There's weapons of mass destruction.
Well, she's just saying all the same stuff I just said. So I'm just going to move on. I think that's enough, Graham Platner. I don't need to boost that story anymore either. Let's have a little bit of a palate cleanser real quick. We're going to watch, we're just going to have some fun this time. We're sticking with MS now, but so yesterday, Donald Trump, he decided to go to New York, the place where dreams are made of and where Donald Trump was born, I think, where he grew up, if I remember correctly. And he decided to go back to New York. Now, before Donald Trump got to New York, Momdanistan was doing great. The vibes were up. The crime was down. The government was effective. Like, everything was going great. The Knicks were in the playoffs. They had a chance to win. Everything was going amazing until Donald Trump decided to bring his terrible ass vibes over to the great state of New York, aka Momdanistan. Now, he went to the game. And apparently people in New York, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I predicted this. I predicted, not the hardest prediction to make. If you look at the polling of of Trump's popularity in New York, it's like 30%, like 30% approve of Donald Trump or something. But I predicted this, that the people who were in the stadium and the people outside, they were not too happy about it. So this is going to be a nice little copium story, I guess, about the people in New York booing Donald Trump at the Knicks game. So let's go ahead and watch it.
Well, the New York Knicks suffered their first loss in 14.
Oh, that's another thing. He caused them to lose the game. There is a 0% chance that they would have lost the game if Donald Trump wasn't there. Let me rephrase that to make it a little bit easier. They 100% would have won the game if Donald Trump hadn't gone and brought down the vibes for like everybody, right? If he hadn't gone and brought down the vibes, then I think that I think that he brought a curse upon the Knicks, and I hope that they can shake off that curse. But who knows? So Donald Trump, his aura, his reach is long and far, and well, all we can do is hope and pray that the curse that Donald Trump has set upon the Knicks will dissipate by the next game.
Games in Game 3 of the NBA Finals last night, and many fans are blaming a certain VIP guest who didn't actually have anything to do with what happened on the court. President Trump was the first sitting president to attend an NBA final, and as you can hear, he didn't get the warmest reception.
By the way, this is during the national anthem. So they did the classic thing where they tried to make it impossible for people to boo him by showing him on camera during the national anthem, because they're hoping that like people's performative patriotism instincts would override their hatred of Donald Trump. I think that was a bad assumption. I really do, because now it is undeniable that they are booing, because when they when they show Donald Trump during the national anthem, all of the people who like Donald Trump they're not going to stop and cheer during the national anthem. They're going to performatively patriotically keep their hand over their heart and sing their hearts out to the national anthem, like good little American stooges of empire. But everybody who hates Donald Trump is clearly going to make a lot of noise whenever he comes on screen. And so you can't deny it. This is him getting booed to all hell. Let's continue watching. Boo.
The pool reporter with the president described the boos when he was on the Jumbotron as thunderous. But the president posted after the game that New York loves him. And here he was before heading back to Washington.
New York, I showed you the polling. I'll pull it up again. But Donald Trump approval by state. This is very easy. This is very easy to find. Look, you just Google it, and there it is. Donald Trump approval by state. 30%. 30%. The only places that are lower is Vermont, Massachusetts, Maryland, and California, and Washington, it looks like. Everybody else looks like they're over. Tied with Oregon. Yeah. But yeah, Donald Trump is despised in New York.
I thought great. I mean, I thought it was amazing, actually. You mean when they had the camera on me? I thought it was very good, yeah. It was certainly amazing. It was. I think, mostly cheers.
It's so much coke, dude. He knows. You can tell that he knows that everybody hates him. Every time that he has to get out of his hug box of his white supremacist stooges that are around him 24/7, praising our dear leader, our fascist leader, so that they can get a little bit more power as America enters its Nazi era. Like, aside from those people, and occasionally, I guess if he goes to college sports games where there's the demographic is probably much more in line with being a Trump fan, it's something like that. But even when he goes to those, he gets booed pretty hard. There's usually more of a mix between boos and cheers, but when he leaves his hug box too much and he goes out in public, people hate him. The polling is clear. Everybody hates Donald Trump. The only people who still besides him that still tried to manufacture this idea that everybody loves Donald Trump are Twitter conservatives, people who live entirely online, who don't go out in the real world. Everybody in the real world hates Donald Trump. It's only online on Elon Musk's specifically handcrafted platform to make conservatives feel good in their little hug box is the only place that people can delude themselves into believing that everybody actually likes Donald Trump. And so I think that when he goes out into places like this, I think he actually does know. I think he knows they were booing. I don't think that he can delude himself in that manner. And I would be curious, and we'll see if it happens, but oftentimes after he has little incidents like this, he will end up having really weird bummer energy. Right, he'll go out and say, man, I mean, I might die someday. I might die, and I guess I hope I make it to heaven. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. A lot of people don't like me. He'll go out and do shit like that, be in a real bummer mood. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of that. He's also, by the way, should he even be at this game? We are literally in a hot war with Iran right now. You have better shit to do. You're the fucking president. Go. I said it yesterday, shut up and legislate. Go back home, go back to Mar-a-Lago, go back to the White House or wherever you want to go, and accept Iran's demands and get us out of this godforsaken war. That's what you should be doing.
Very enthusiastic. They are going to deliver. Oh, I don't know. We're busy with a lot of important stuff right now at EPA, like a war.
Let's bring in sports journalist.
Every time he does, he makes these faces, it reminds me so much of the best man at my wedding. The person I had as my best man at my wedding. He's like a big bullshitter. And Donald Trump's like mannerisms. Sometimes I catch a glimpse. I'm like, that's the exact same look that my friend says.
PA, like a war.
Let's bring in sports journalist Jason Page. He's the host of Sports Wrap with Jason Page, and he's an MS Now columnist. Jason, the president certainly isn't the first politician to get blamed for a bad score at a game, but he didn't seem too bruised by the boos. But just how unusual was that reception, literally getting greeted by thunderously loud boos?
He had to know it was coming. And I think on some level he relishes it. We live in this world, we live in this WWE culture where you're either the hero or you're the heel. And I think he relishes being the heel in this situation.
I'm not so sure. I think that he genuinely wants people to like him. I honestly do. I honestly think that Donald Trump really wants to be loved by everybody. I think his problem is that that's impossible with his personality, with his personality and mannerisms. I think it's impossible for him to be loved by everybody, but he has a long history of wanting libs to like him. That was like his entire personality trait back whenever he was in New York before. So like, I think that he genuinely does want people to love him. And like, it's never going to happen, obviously. But I think that this hurts him more than these people are letting on. Like, I truly do.
He knew what was coming when he came to Madison Square Garden. He had tons of people inconvenienced. He had herds of fans being shuffled around from entrance to entrance, trying to get into the arena after they paid upwards of $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000 at the low end just to get into this game. He knew what was coming, Anna. And I mean, frankly, you know, it's kind of funny to me because a couple of months back, the Mets started off the season in a terrible way. And conservatives were blaming Zoran Mamdani because he went and hugged the Mets mascot. And the Mets lost like 14 games in a row. Fans are irrational.
Yeah.
What is fans short for? What is fans short for? Fanatics. And I mean, so we're going to blame Donald Trump for this loss. The fact of the matter is he's not the reason they lost, but he did add to an atmosphere that I think in
hey, buddy. Let's be real. Come on. You can't deny that he did have an impact here, right? He did bring down the vibes. New York was flying high. I think a lot of people were genuinely upset that Donald Trump was coming to this game. And there's no way the players didn't know that he was going to be there. And I just think he just brought down the vibes, man. You can't quantitate that like in terms of a game, like how much of an impact it had. But I think that it could reasonably have made an impact.
In many ways, did sort of change the dynamic in that arena last night between the Spurs and the Knicks.
But sports are supposed to bring people together, right? We hear a lot of people talk about sports being this great unifier. They shouldn't be political. Is that an argument for politicians to be in the stands or to stay away?
Well, it's just this, politician. Let's be honest about it. If Barack Obama's there last night, nobody's booing like crazy. And again, this isn't something that Barack Obama did when he was president.
That's true. And also, Mamdani was there, right? Mamdani is a politician, and he was there. And I don't know if they ever panned over him. They probably should have. But I have a feeling that if they panned over Mamdani, he would have been cheered into oblivion because he's doing such a fucking good job. Everybody in New York loves him. Like, and so I don't actually have a problem with politicians going to the sports games. It's just, you should, it's just, this particular politician, Donald Trump, the most hated politician of all time, should probably stay away from it because everything he touches, he politicizes, right? That's just the nature of who he is. Everything he touches, he politicizes. And so, if you don't want politics in your sports, then you should keep him 50 feet from any sports arena.
President of the United States. It isn't something that George W.
I think I'm done. I think we got enough. Info. That was just supposed to be a little palate cleanser anyway. Okay, let's move on to Supreme Court. We're at an hour and 40 minutes. I got to at least get through the stuff in my title, which I think this is the last one, if I remember correctly. So yeah, let's go ahead and watch this. So the Supreme Court we all know what they're all about at this point. They overturned Roe v. Wade. They've been overturning the gerrymandering, or like they've made it legal to like discriminatorily, I don't know if that's a word, discriminate in gerrymandering efforts or whatever. They've essentially gutted the Voting Rights Act, making it so that you can just put all your black people, just put them in one district, and then they can never have any power at all. Basically, is like that they've done that. They've been on a roll lately, right? And I've said for a long time, I mean, maybe not on this channel because I've only been streaming for like a month and a half or so, but I've said for a long time that there is no objective interpretation of law. Law is political. Law is it is based on the current circumstances of the time, and it is based on power, right? And right now, Republicans have complete and total control and power when it comes to the courts. So apparently, there's going to be a lot more. I think we're just getting started in terms of the terrible rulings that are going to be coming out of the Supreme Court. But let's go ahead and watch this video. They're about to rule on some, I think, pretty major issues here. Well, some major and some not so major. They're going to rule on birthright citizenship, which is obviously like, that's a huge deal. Trans athletes, which is nothing, who cares? Late mail-in ballots and more. And I say that because like the trans athletes issue is like completely manufactured. Who cares? Like the Supreme Court does not need to rule on this. This is not nearly important enough of an issue to have the Supreme Court rule on. But anyway, who knows? Maybe they have a good reason to want to rule on it. I'm guessing not. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
To national headlines, President Trump says he will nominate acting Attorney General Todd Blanche as Attorney General. Blanche took over as acting AG in April following the firing of Pam Bondi. The Senate narrowly voted to block a motion by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to prohibit the DOJ from establishing an anti-weaponization fund. This part of a $70 billion reconciliation package to fund ICE and Border Patrol. And former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton has pleaded guilty to a single count of retaining classified information, this tied to diary-like notes Bolton shared with his family.
By the way, John Bolton, he did do that shit. And I tell people before, I have a pro-leak general policy. I want everything that our government does to be leaked under all circumstances. I don't care if it's got national security implications or whatever. I want everything that our government does to be leaked under all circumstances. And John Bolton, he was just trying to do his part by taking all of these documents and then writing them all down in his memoir to then sell for billions of dollars on the market or whatever, however much money he, probably not that much. I don't know how many people will actually buy it, but John Bolton, he is a terrible person. This investigation into him was started under Biden. So it's not necessarily just a Trump lawfare thing. Like Trump is just concluding a prosecution that was started under Biden. So I don't even think that you could really classify this as lawfare. And for all of those reasons, I again reiterate my statement at the beginning, rest in piss, bozo.
As he prepared his memoir. Under the deal, Bolton will avoid prison time but could face millions in fines.
The Department of Justice all over the headlines today, but attention is soon to turn from the prosecutorial wing of the executive branch to the judicial branch as the Supreme Court enters its final stretch of the term, with some of the most politically explosive cases still to decide. With more on what's being argued and what to expect, we are joined by KTLA law and politics analyst Jessica Levinson. Jessica, let's start with one of the marquee cases of this term, the battle over birthright citizenship. The justice is weighing whether President Trump's executive order aimed at banning the practice violates long-held interpretation of the 14th Amendment. So based on oral arguments in April... Well, we know that the long-term, like, precedent doesn't mean anything anymore. At the very least, I think that, like, more liberal judges try to include precedent to the best of their ability in making decisions. However, they still always lean towards being pro-corporate, pro-capital, and, like, obviously anti just, like,
anti-working class, generally speaking, in their interpretations, right? Liberal judges do that as well. However, these current judges, all of the Republican appointed ones, they are just completely getting rid of the concept of precedent. Precedent no longer matters whatsoever. It is pure power politics. It is whatever we can, however we need to interpret the Constitution, however we need to interpret the arguments is how we're going to do it. We are going to do whatever we can to cement right-wing authoritarian fascism, basically, like a pedo-billionaire fascism, like in America. Whatever we can do to do that, we're going to do it. That's what they're saying. So, yeah, precedent doesn't matter anymore. They can just make up whatever. They're just going to make up whatever they want to change whatever precedents they want.
The president,
like they did with Roe v. Wade.
His order appears headed for defeat.
I think that's right, but I think it's not just based on oral arguments. I think it's based on what the president is trying to unilaterally do in this case, which is really to undermine our understanding of birthright citizenship. Where does this understanding come from? It's from the 14th Amendment, and there's a clause that essentially says if you are born in this country, regardless of I'm of course paraphrasing, regardless of the status of your parents, you are a U.S. citizen. That was a policy decision that the drafters of the 14th Amendment made. And so if we want to change that, in my view, the way to do that is either to change our understanding of the Constitution.
I mean, that seems as clear cut as it could possibly be. I'm trying to pull it up right now, so that I can read the text exactly as it says. Okay, 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Representatives shall be apportioned among the several states to the excluding Indians, not taxed. Classic. Let's see. Being 21 years and for participation. Wait. Well, I guess I'll just read. But when the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors of United States representatives or the members of the legislative thereof is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such a state. So, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States are in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis of representation therein shall be reduced. So this section 2 seems to be about criminals, that they're allowed to vote, at least male criminals, apparently. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's just this first one. The first section seems to be the only relevant one. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. So there you go. It's plain as day, plain English. Now, again, we live under, American fascism. We're living through fascist times. That means words don't mean anything. You can interpret words however you want. It's very Orwellian. Go read 1984 if you haven't. It's very, very pertinent to our current time. But up means down, left means right. It's all double think type shit. But these types of arguments typically don't matter anymore. Like just plain text reading. It's all about what power you can get out of, and you can interpret it however you want as long as you have the power. But we'll see. Maybe they're not going to do it. It seems like they were talking like they don't think this one is going to pass. So we'll see what she thinks or why she thinks that.
Constitution or to amend the Constitution, but it's not by the president issuing an executive order. So yes, in oral arguments, I think you could listen and see that the justices were not swayed by the Trump administration's arguments, but I think it's really based on the issue at hand and what President Trump is trying to do.
So, Jessica, let's flip the script. In the chance that the president does prevail, could that upend the concept of citizenship?
Absolutely. And it would cause numerous problems on the ground in the sense of there were a lot of questions for the justices during oral arguments. Well, how
chaos.
Are people going to prove the status of their parents, essentially the newborn's parents' status when they're born? Does it mean that when you walk into a hospital?
But then again, like what's really interesting about this is it would essentially make it impossible for anyone to ever become a citizen ever again, right? Am I wrong? Like, isn't that the natural conclusion? Because people wouldn't, if you immigrate here and you are not a citizen, I guess maybe you would have to apply for citizenship before you have your kid. It's the only way that I can interpret it. Like, you have to wait to have a kid until after you get your citizenship. And only then would that kid be a citizen. I don't know if this happens retroactively. Like, if you have a kid and you become a citizen, after you've had a kid, does that kid then get to inherit your citizenship, or does that kid also now need to apply for citizenship? Are they still an illegal immigrant or something? You know, like this is or just an immigrant, I guess, because they have like the papers or whatever. I don't know. This seems like it makes it impossible or like very difficult for anyone to become for any child to become a citizen. You would have to wait until your parents become citizens, like go through the decade-long process of becoming a citizen before you can have kids, I guess, is the only way that I could see it, unless they have a way of like inheriting it afterwards.
To deliver a child, that you walk in with your passport or with other documentation. The justices actually had a number of questions about how would this play out? What would this mean for government agencies in terms of verifying the legal status of people's parents? So yes, I think it would completely upend our understanding of citizenship.
So let's move on now to Little versus Hecox and West Virginia versus BPJ. Two cases revolving around state bans on transgender athletes in public schools. Now, this comes down to whether these laws are based on transgender status or sex.
That's right. So these are, as you said, we have two states who are banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. And I think the initial question is,
why does this need the government? Can someone please tell me, why does this need the government? Just let the individual organizations decide. Like, I do not understand why this requires the government unless your goal is to just oppress people, which is the real goal, is to manufacture hate and oppress people. You do not need the government to get involved with this. Organizations, if they want to, I'm not saying that I agree with this, but they are allowed. Like the WNBA is allowed to make a rule that says you must have been born with a vagina or whatever, right? Like maybe that's the rule that they make. Even that is like kind of subjective, like sex, like determining sex is not as straightforward as people think. There's a lot of things that go into your sex, including chromosomes, but that's not always 100%. Sexual anatomy, but that's not always 100% because there's people who have both, so there's women who are born with hormone imbalances that give them more testosterone than other people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things that would make this like somewhat difficult, like somewhat unenforceable to an extent. That it's like I don't really like. I mean, personally, I don't even agree that they need to do this, but if you're going to do it, let it be up to the organizations if they decide to do that. It doesn't need to be legislated by the government. This is so stupid, man. We have an unserious government.
Is really, what type of ban is this? Is this a ban on the basis of sex? Or is it a ban on the basis of transgender status? Now, why does that matter? It matters because that will determine how the justices look at this particular case. Meaning, if this is a restriction on sex, then the justices use something called intermediate scrutiny. If this is a restriction on the basis of transgender status, I think the justices will use a much lower level of review. I have to say, in either route, I think the place you ultimately get to with this court is the court being comfortable upholding these restrictions, meaning states can, if they want to, say that transgender athletes cannot play on women's sports teams.
Then there's Trump v. Slaughter and
See, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think that should be allowed. I really don't. I don't think the government should be allowed to impede on individuals' desires to play sports in organizations that allow it. Right? If the organization allows it, then why should the government get involved? It's a similar situation to should we not allow like black people to play in a sport or something? I don't think the government should get involved in that. And in that regard, I would also say it should be like discrimination based on that, creating different leagues based on that should be illegal or whatever. In the way that it has been adjudicated. I don't know if that's a law or if that was just something that happened. I would have to look into the history, like if that was something that organizations did on their own. Like if that was a part of like desegregation law, I can't remember, to be honest. But like, I do not think the government needs to be involved in this whatsoever. This is so stupid. States, and I guess what I'm saying in that regard is I don't think that states should be allowed to make this decision and impede on private citizens' decisions to join private organizations and do what the fuck they want, as long as those private organizations allow it.
Trump v. Cook, the court could redefine presidential power and the firing power of presidents, Trump or otherwise. At issue, can courts second guess whether a president has cause for terminating government employees?
I think what you said is so important, Trump or otherwise, meaning all of these cases we should remember are not about President Trump necessarily. They are about anybody who's in the Oval Office. Do you have the power to fire the heads of executive agencies? So as you said, there's two different cases. One case deals with the Federal Reserve, where the question really is, what satisfies the for-cause standard? Then there's another case that deals with the Fair Trade Commission. And in that case, the question is whether or not you can even have a for-cause standard, whether or not Congress can even say it will be that hard for a president to fire the head of the FTC. Because the argument is that as a member of the executive branch, it's really just up to the president to say, I want this person to be head of an executive agency, and I don't want this person to be, and I shouldn't have to give you a good reason. I shouldn't have to provide cause.
All right, let's touch a little bit on elections. President Trump today argued.
That one I'm a little bit confused about. Setting up, like, so the agencies are set up by acts of Congress, I thought. Did Congress delegate the authority to elect heads of those agencies to set heads of those agencies to the president, or is that something that Congress decides? I don't know who that is. Yeah, so that one I'm a little bit uncertain on.
That California Democrats are working to steal the primary, alleging the...
Okay, this is probably... Well, I guess I'll watch it. We're only a couple minutes to the end of it.
...of mail-in ballots and the delay of the vote count. Now, this as the court weighs Watson v. Republican National Committee, which involves just that, whether ballots can arrive after Election Day if they were postmarked on time. So what's being argued here, and what do we expect?
This is a classic battle of who decides. So in this case, California, as we talked about on Tuesday night, and other states like Mississippi have these grace periods where you just have to have your ballot postmarked by Election Day, but it can be returned within a certain amount of time and it still counts. The question is, do states have the power to do that under a federal law, which, as we know, defines Election Day as a specific...
Yes, under our Constitution, it is up to the municipality, it is up to the state to run their elections. There's no ambiguity here. Now, again, it doesn't matter in our current world whether there's ambiguity or not, but like in terms of interpretation. But according to the Constitution, it is up to the states.
Tuesday. And it really is a question of what does the Constitution allow? The Constitution says states set the time, place, and manner of elections. Yep. But the second sentence is, but Congress gets to pass laws too. And the issue for the court is whether or not those two laws are in conflict. If they are, the federal government wins. I think in this case, what we're going to see is that the justice...
Well, Congress gets to pass laws, maybe. I don't know. In terms of regulating... if that's what it says, I'd have to look up that part of the Constitution. I can't remember what they said it was. Here, let's see if we can Google states run elections. Is that an amendment or something? Constitution amendment. States and election clause. Okay, here it is. Here it is. The times, place, and manners of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state. Well, for representatives, but representatives, first and foremost, wouldn't even apply to the mayor. The mayor is not a representative. The mayor is a actor on behalf of the city. It is not representing the people of that city in federal government. So this doesn't even apply to the California race, just on its face. But shall be prescribed in each state by the legislation. Shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the places of choosing senators. So this part does make me think that Congress can legislate on it, but that doesn't mean that Trump can executive order it or anything. So maybe if Congress passes a law, if they have, I can't remember if they did already. Let me see. Has Congress passed law on mail-in voting? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they've passed any legislation as far as I know. The president, the executive branch, for sure doesn't have the capability of like by executive decree saying that people can't dictate how states run their elections, not according to the Constitution.
Justices will government is whether or not those two laws are in conflict. If they are, the federal government wins. I think in this case, what we're going to see is that the justices will ultimately strike down these grace periods. But the real question for all of us, I think, is under
what reasoning? I know it doesn't matter. I would be curious what they could possibly come up with for a reasoning for that. Because there hasn't been any legislation passed around it. If Congress passed a law that said we are going to ban grace periods after an election. All election ballots must be submitted before or on the date of the election. If they pass that law, that would be fine according to the Constitution, at least. I'm not making a moral argument here. I'm making a legal argument. So that would be fine, but that's not what has happened. So I don't understand how they could even try to make an argument about this.
What does that mean for early voting? Obviously, that's something that Californians and many other people have early voting. The question is whether that case calls that into question.
So in the meantime, while we're waiting, we wait.
Yeah, from a moral perspective, I think that we should make it as easy to vote for as many people to vote as possible. That's my personal opinion. So they should, as long as they are postmarked by that date, and as long as there is a reasonable period at which they are going to stop counting them, like let's say, like they said, 1 week grace period for those postmarked ballots to get in, then I think that's perfectly reasonable. It makes the most sense in terms of like voting that you just have to have it postmarked by then. And it should 99.99% of the vote by mail people, their mail should arrive to the correct location by that 1 week grace period. So I mean, I think that's probably fine personally. It would only be on close call elections that it would be annoying anyway. On like, again, 90% of elections aren't going to, or maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. At least like the majority, the like vast majority, in my opinion, of elections would not be so close that they would be waiting that full week to get the estimates or whatever. And 90% of the mailed in votes would be in within 2 to 3 days after it anyway. So okay, let's go ahead and move on. What time is it? 2:04. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try to read an article real quick. I've been talking too much. Is this it? Okay. Let's read this article. I don't know. It seems almost kind of long, but there's a lot of pictures, so I think it's just spread out pretty far. And there's a lot of tweets too. Okay. Let's go ahead and read this. Why not? You know I love covering the looks maxing community. I don't know why. I need to see what's going wrong with young men so that I can understand them and try to save them from themselves. That's my goal. That is my lot in life, is to try to save young men from falling down the pipeline of looks maxing. And so I'm going to try to do my best to do so by informing everybody about it and giving my incredible opinions about it. So, this is from Bored Panda. Bored Panda. Fun name for a website. So I just saw this title and I was like, fuck it, let's just read it. This is probably not a very important story. This seems like drama slop or whatever. Just like engagement farming, whatever. I'm hoping though that we can maybe come away from this article with something a little bit more deep and a little bit more meaningful, but I am by no means making that a guarantee. So let's get started. Looksmaxer allegedly sits next to man on the subway to mog him, but it doesn't go as planned. Ooh, okay, it doesn't go as planned already. I'm surprised. By Anwesha Nag. Ooh, that's a bad last name. I'm so sorry, lady. You're gonna have a hard time with your husband with that last name. Okay, sorry. A video featuring French fitness and bodybuilding influence, Alexis Icarus. It's good to know that we are exporting our incredible, amazing culture to France with giving them looks maxing. You know, go us, America, USA, USA. As I always say. Alexis Icarus recently went viral for all the wrong reasons. Alexis, who claims to weigh 195 pounds and be 6'5" inches tall. Oh, congratulations, buddy. Is a popular figure in social media's looksmaxing community with 133,000 followers on Instagram. Looksmaxing is an online self-improvement trend hyper-focused on maximizing physical attractiveness using DIY tactics and diet. And hammers. Hammers to the face. I'm going to skip over the highlights so that I can be surprised. The video, which started circulating on June 8th, 2026, and has amassed more than 30 million views since then, showed Alexis sitting in the subway, allegedly trying to mog a fellow passenger, another internet term meaning to outshine someone in appearance. The video, which drew more criticism than support, is not currently visible on Alexis's Instagram account. Looking a mess trying to gain validation online, one netizen commented. Well, this dude is pretty jacked. He does have that crazy facial structure. I don't know if he's had buccal fat removal or whatever. It kind of looks like he has. It also looks like he might have some lip fillers. But you know what? That's all a part of the looks maxing. That's how you max your looks, is you gotta do the surgeries. Okay. Alexis Icarus, what a great last name too. Although, wait a second, I'm just now remembering Icarus. Okay, maybe this is poetic after all. The entire point of the Icarus, the Greek, I think it's a Greek like character in a play or something, or maybe it's in Greek mythology. I can't remember exactly. I think it's mythology actually. Is that he flew too close to the sun. He flew too close to the sun and he got burned and he fell back down to earth, right? That's the whole thing. And I have to assume that there is going to be a poetic allegory here with Alexis Icarus here, looks maxing, mogging too close to the sun. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue. Alexis Icarus started posting looks maxing and bodybuilding content on Instagram in November 2024. Most of his posts and videos have been about his fitness journey, on how he went from 158 pounds to his current physique in 1.5 years. Let me see if I can... Oh, no, they don't have... I was hoping they had like a before-after picture of this guy, but okay, I guess not. Allegedly using unprocessed whole foods and no steroids. while this physique is achievable natural, I would say if it was in such a short period of time, 1.5 years, like I don't know, it's right on the edge, right? It's right on the edge of what I would consider being able to do natural. The body fat percentage is the main thing. Like, he is clearly very low body fat. And especially if he's like this, like, year round, that's another like clearer sign that you're on steroids. But in this picture, he doesn't look as lean. So like, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he did not use steroids in order to achieve this physique. Because especially in this picture, it doesn't look like he's not nearly as lean and stuff, right? So like, I don't know. Anyway, here I guess is the alleged mogging incident. This looks like a New York subway, if I had to guess. But yeah, here he is sitting next to this poor, I assume, Indian man who is just trying to like go to work or something. He's like playing a mobile game on his phone, and this guy is over here, getting his picture taken while sitting in. Obviously, this is already a faux pas. You're not supposed to sit right next to the person when there's another seat right here. That's for if the train gets completely full, someone will take that seat after. But for right now, you're not supposed to sit there. Okay, that's one faux pas. I just what's it called? I can't remember. I was gonna say like I just like society mogged you, or like we live in a society mogged him, but I don't know. I can't think. Culture mogged. I don't know what a good way to say it would be. In the caption of one video, he revealed that the goal of his looks maxing efforts has always been to look like an anime character, and compared himself with Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Well, we have to get a comparison up. Dio Brando, JoJo. Okay. So I guess he's trying to look like this guy, right? To be fair, every single anime character is clearly roided the fuck out. I mean, even the people who aren't like that jacked, like, are still insanely jacked. like in the grand scheme of anime characters, this guy is like middle of the road in terms of jacked levels. But like even him is like, that's an unachievable physique, natural. So anyway, it's good to have goals though. Good for you, buddy. If they plan on doing it in real life, I'm there for the casting, he says. In late May 2026, Alexis shared a few posts of himself riding the subway in France. Oh, that's not New York. It is in France. I guess they mentioned that at the beginning of the article. I have like goldfish memory, so I forget shit like that sometimes. In the video that later went viral, he wore a black vest, gray pants, and white shoes with a backpack and earphones. He was sitting very close to another man wearing jeans, a brick red t-shirt, and white shoes who was busy looking at his phone. Alexis was seen grooving to the background music in the clip and occasionally fixing his hair. Do they have a clip of this, a video of this? I don't see it. At one point, the other man briefly looked up at the camera, noticing he was being recorded. Yeah, for people unaware, it's not that hard, like, for most people to know when they're being recorded. You're not as sneaky as you think you are. Like, most people have an intuitive sense of, like, when they're being recorded. Okay. Netizens blasted Alexis Icarus. 1 second. Got to keep my throat lubed up. Netizens blasted, it's not even helping. Netizens blasted Alexis Icarus for harassing the other man. Strongest men, this is Men Blind Spot. Strongest men I've met never seemed interested in reminding everyone they were strong. The real black pill is that half the internet watched this and immediately decided which guy was winning based on their own insecurities. This is incredibly weird. Like the fact that you're touching knees and an elbow just to show a comparison is weird behavior. The narcissism is clear as day here. One of the most inferior behavioral displays I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is inappropriate. Like, you shouldn't, number one, faux pas number one, don't sit here when you could sit there, right? That's faux pas number one. Number two, don't record people without them like knowing about it. Don't record people for content if you have not already asked them, hey, do you mind if I, do a quick recording, for my channel or whatever? Like, you shouldn't be doing that. That's just like a polite thing. I'm not saying that's a law. I'm saying that's a polite thing. You shouldn't do that. Otherwise it's rude. And also, like these people are saying, it is not a good thing to, you shouldn't deride joy out of comparing yourself to others, right? You shouldn't try to bring people down by as a part of this process. And that's like a big problem with looks maxing in general, is that it's all about especially mogging. It's all about like putting down other people for being less attractive, right? That's obviously just bad, and you shouldn't do it. It's like, I don't know. Not good. While some of his followers initially left positive comments under the video, Alexis was soon called out as the post gained more traction for sharing embarrassing content for self-validation and also for breaching the other passengers' privacy. How insecure do you have to be to need to constantly compare your looks with random people? One person wrote. Another said, looks maxers have an inflated sense of ego. Also, like I said, it's perfectly fine to want to achieve a good physique or whatever, but it should be internally motivated, not externally motivated. You should be doing it for yourself and not in order to mog others or to win in the sexual marketplace. Like, that's just stupid. And you're never going to find happiness that way. Anyway, this just screams insecure bully who just, by the way, this picture is like a crazy nice bicep development in this photo. This just screams insecure bully who just wants anyone to tell them they're hot because their looks are the only thing that they kind of have going for them, said a third. He's invading someone's privacy. He probably hasn't asked him before uploading this video, speculated a fourth commenter. I would be so mad if a stranger started bouncing knees beside me when there are other places to sit down. That was what I talked about too. But also, always remember, lighting is everything too. When it comes to these photos, by the way, top-down lighting does a crazy number for making you look more jacked. This is more neutral lighting, right? And it makes a huge difference in how you look on average. Same with this one. This is incredible lighting. Probably has a pump, good, good composition, looking sort of top down, making your chest look bigger and your waist getting that V taper look going. But then when you look at this, it's in neutral lighting and stuff, it's still impressive, but it's not. It does it makes a huge difference. Good lighting does. Fellow looks maxer called Alexis Icarus out over elitist bullying. This is the saddest, most brainless, performative, most deep cringe thing I've seen in a month. You having the need to put others down so you can elevate yourself by comparison shows your weakness. This behavior definitely doesn't come from high self-esteem or confidence. You're in the wrong community, buddy. That's the entire basis of the looks maxing community, is low self-esteem and lack of confidence. Alexis Icarus was slammed not only by netizens, but also by fellow looks maxers online. Adam Stickley, better known as Baby Stickley, and with 1 million Instagram followers, called out Alexis in video. Well, this isn't a video. Man, he is tall, though. I don't usually come on here and talk badly about anyone, Stickley started, but standing for your morals also means standing against bullshit like this. That's a surprise. If you're a part of the looks maxing community, that place is a cesspit. I'm surprised that there's anybody calling him out. 6'5", good-looking guy on a train, free seat right next to him, but instead he squeezes up against an older, smaller man. Man spreads all over him, encroaching on his personal space and dances around, mocking him for views. Yeah. Also, you don't know anything about that guy. I'm just saying, you don't know anything about that guy. He could be a CEO or something, he could be have a very fulfilling personal life. He could have, very cool interests. He could be really funny. These people just put so much on appearance that, I don't know. It's kind of sad. You can see the other passenger know he's being recorded, and he obviously feels very uncomfortable, Stickley added. This is disgusting. The black pill notion is the idea that your looks determine your quality of life, and if you look bad, it's over for you, and if you look great, your life's going to be great, he continued. Yeah, that's not the case, though. This guy on the right probably has a better personal life than this guy on the left. If he is truly in the looks maxing community, and he is like as black pilled as all the people over there, he probably does not have a very fulfilling life. Whereas this guy on the right is just an average dude, like, I don't know, either going to work or like living his life. And we know nothing about him. So it's very likely that he could have a much more fulfilling life than this guy. But let's go. Oh, I don't think I can listen to that. But he's just dancing next to him. So if the black pill is so true, why does a 6'5" Chad need to bully a random stranger on a train just to feel good about himself? Since when is self-improvement genetic elitist bullying disguised as humor or mocking? This is another thing. They are like using the mocking language, or like the looks maxing language, by saying genetic elitist. Like, I mean, again, you don't know what this guy has going for him. Like, and also, like, in terms of like mental acuity, I would have to guess, if he was stupid enough to post this, that he's probably not the brightest bulb in the bunch. Like, you know, he probably lost the genetic lottery when it comes to intelligence. Like, you know, like, I don't know, whatever. There's nothing admirable about the video. It's not cool. It's not inspirational. Let's see. The rest is just tweets, it looks like. I think that's about it. So yeah. Anyway, that's the article, people. We got to look at this French Icarus, this Icarus of France, Le Icara. As he mogged too close to the sun and got burned. So there you have it, people. I think I'm actually just probably gonna end it with this one. It's already 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm about ready to get out of here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you're watching the VOD, love you too. This has been Technically Clay, and the stream is technically over. Bye bye.